Let's get some insight from somebody who knows Trump very well. Mick Mulvaney was Trump's chief of staff and also served as director of the Office of Management and Budget. Mick, are you surprised by the pick of JD Vance?
No, I'm not surprised. JD's been on the list now from the beginning. I think back, several months ago when Trump came out with a list of 6 or 8 or 10 folks, JD has been on there. He's been on there ever since. In the last couple of weeks, he's sort of filtered up. So I don't think anybody can say they're actually surprised by the pick. To Leland's point, did that change over Saturday and Sunday? I think the only reason it would have changed was not because of the shooting on Saturday. I think it would have been because of the debate 3 weeks ago. There was some discussion within Republican circles, within Trump circles, that maybe Joe Biden won't be at the top of the ticket, and that if it's not, then it's probably Kamala Harris. And if the Democrats are offering a woman at the top of the ticket, should the Republicans have a female in the vice president slot? I think that was sort of a late discussion, but I don't think anybody's surprised it's actually JD Vance. Again, I think it's a good choice. To Leland's point about picking somebody else, a lost opportunity, that I wholeheartedly disagree with. Nobody votes for vice president.
Right.
What a vice president is looking, what a president is looking for is someone who could go out and be their absolute lead surrogate, and I think that's what Donald Trump got in JD Vance. We've talked about his ability to go on television and so forth. So I don't show to answer Leland's point. Show me the person who wasn't going to vote for Donald Trump, but might if he had picked somebody else other than JD Vance for vice president. I don't think that voter exists in this country.
Yeah, but the other reason the vice president is important is because the vice president takes over should something happen to the president. We saw, less than 48 hours ago, a terrifying incident in which, this was all very crystallized right there. He was nearly assassinated at a campaign rally. JD Vance is 39 years old. He has 17 months of experience in the United States Senate. Other than that, no political experience whatsoever. This is a real gamble in many ways, is it not, to put somebody that young and that inexperienced on the ticket?
Was Barack Obama a gamble? I don't know. He's been in the Senate, I think, just the exact same amount of time as JD Vance had been. Yes, he'd been in the state legislature for a little bit, but that's hardly any more preparation for being president.
It's a little more political experience.
Yeah, a little more political experience, but maybe less real-world experience. Is a community organizer versus a business person. Look, they're going to be capable. If the person is so patently unsuited to be president, then I think it sort of comes back on the president for picking that person. The only time I can remember that in my lifetime might be John McCain.
Sarah Palin,
now that I'm getting old.
Who had a month of great glowing press and then, imploded literally 1 month into her candidacy as vice president.
That's clearly not what we're having here. The one thing JD Vance has to do in order to prove that he's ready is to properly debate Kamala Harris, to effectively debate Kamala Harris, and I think everybody expects him to be able to do that. He's really, really good on his feet, really good speaking, so he's going to be a good debater. No, I don't think there's any concern about his ability to do the job any more than there would be for any of the other vice presidential candidates we've had in the last 30 or 40 years.
How much do you think it might be a problem, Mick, JD Vance's previous comments that were very critical of former President Trump, where he, called him radioactive and reprehensible, and he's in public, on television, in the New York Times op-ed pages, saying very horrible things about Trump.
Look, it's part of the business, isn't it? I mean, I said bad things about President Trump after the Access Hollywood tape came out. Kamala Harris has said horrible things about Joe Biden when she was running against him. When you're running against somebody, you say things like that. Go back to the 1980s when George Bush the elder was accusing Ronald Reagan of voodoo economics. Those economics are now Republican orthodoxy. So, look, that kind of stuff happens in this business. And if you bear a grudge in that, you can't do this for a living. So you sort of talk it through. It's not going to be a surprise to the Trump team. You know that they know that JD Vance said all these things. And clearly they've worked it through, so I'm not concerned about it. I think the media makes a big deal about it. Media is always interested in trying to find daylight between a president and a vice president of either party, and there'll be some attention to it, but I don't think it's meaningful in any real way. It's part of politics in this country.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.